So what are we all working towards in life? You want to have a big payday. You want to get laid with a hot girl. You want to, have a good house and a great holiday and all this kind of stuff. All these concepts of success, and we're all kind of avoiding the pain of failure, loneliness, and poorness. Now, you may have known that over the last 2 years, I've been working on different facets of my life. I've been on a different journey. I did cold approach pickup for Real Social Dynamics, a lead instructor from 2007, 2014. Then I created 4-Week Natural. It was a huge success. And I loved doing it, but it was really, really financially successful, gave me incredible financial freedom. But I'd coached about 11 years straight or something. And we're all looking for getting laid a lot, making money a lot, being able to travel a lot, and feeling confident everywhere that you go. And I had all of that. Right? So I was really winning in all facets of life. I had a really good influence over other people. And that was cool. But it was weird because when I was getting to that point and having, that success and abundance, I thought, okay, I need now a different challenge because this success isn't all that I thought that it was going to be. So I thought I'm going to go for a different concept. I'm going to go kind of hippie mode, not earning, not working, doing things differently, trying to build a legacy and making huge sacrifices, isolating myself in Eastern Europe, living in a motorhome, traveling around Europe, doing photography and doing artistic things. And that kind of lifestyle, it leads to isolation. And it was a huge financial commitment to stop working and invest in a whole lot of incredible equipment and be incredibly in debt and have all these hurdles come to me that created more debt, more problems, more obligations that I had to pay back and just difficult position. So I had a really, really negative experience and I went into debt, right? So the point that I want to make is that we all chase success because we want that amazing, positive win feeling. And we all avoid loss or isolation or not getting laid or poorness because we hate that feeling. And when I slid from being a successful lifestyle into a really kind of almost desperate lifestyle, like lonely, isolated, hardworking, really hustling to make things work, but they weren't working for me, it was a bit of a negative sinking feeling when I went from stability and success to instability and incredible scarcity. But what I want to relate to you is that both of them felt equally as numb. The huge success and the huge failure, neither of those two things really made my day or really upset me. And that, when I started feeling this horrible feeling of loss or scarcity, I was like, oh, this is not so bad. This is actually not bad at all. I'm still alive. I can still buy some food at the grocery store. I can still work out with my own body. I can still meet girls in day game. I can do everything almost in a point of poverty in a poverty country, and it didn't upset me. And so that led me to this catastrophic idea: why effing bother to be successful? Because it's not that good, and failure is not a punishment. All right, so let's talk about a metaphor like you might have heard it at college. There are the people who can get instant gratification, 1 marshmallow now or 2 marshmallows later. Right? Now, what does that translate to in this day and age? So you can, the idea is that if you work hard and you're patient and you're fair and you're, intuitive, you'll get a bigger payoff by working harder, but the payoff will come later. Or you can do no work and get that 1 marshmallow right now. Now, the problem is, in this day and age, in this reality that we live in, you can get an instant payoff right now all the time. You can get an orgasm by masturbating, or you can get an orgasm by paying for a prostitute, or you can go and eat a big gluttonous meal that costs no money at McDonald's and feel really satisfied, or you can watch TV and feel satisfied, or you can go and apply for a credit card and all of a sudden you've got, $10,000 to play with, go to Vegas, do whatever you want to do. And you can get all of this 1 marshmallow stuff immediately without any effort, with this instant gratification, and have a pretty happy life. Maybe, you're going to feel a little bit fat or unhealthy or, like a cheater, but you're going to get that success anyway. Because that's what the society we live in can trap you into. The problem is if you work really, really hard and you take your time and you're thorough and you educate yourself and you work with the best people and you sacrifice to get a better payoff later, oftentimes the feeling of that better payoff later, the 2 marshmallows, it isn't. It isn't a better payoff later. And also because you're not acting on a whim, because you're doing things slowly and steadily and non-emotionally, the payoff that you work hard for later down the track, the 2 marshmallows, is not exciting, it's not satisfying, and it's not better. It's not better. It's not emotionally satisfying. It's not financially satisfying. The girl that you get later, or the hookup that you think that you're guaranteed if you work really hard in life, that payoff is not a good payoff. Realistically, in this day and age, if you do no work and you seek instant gratification, you get the 1 marshmallow instant payoff gratification. Or you can go slower, steadier, sacrifice, work harder, and all that stuff, and you expect a 2 marshmallow, a double payoff later, but you don't. It's almost like if you work hard and you're fair, you get a lesser payoff later, and you're more dissatisfied by it, and you're unhappy. And so this idea has been going through my head. Like, I've had this incredible business success and incredible success with women, and incredible travel success. And it was really, really cool. And then I've also completely sacrificed that and been lonely and isolated and stuck. But it didn't bother me either. And so I realized, like, what in the fuck's name is the point? Why get up in the morning? Why hustle? If I don't care about the payoff and I don't care about the failure, what's the fucking point? And the reason why I'm relating this, because this has been an internal battle for me for quite a while I'm trying to find a way to articulate my message to the world for the next 30 or 40 years. Because I've got to be somebody who's on YouTube and Instagram and all that. And what I realized is that the instant gratification, it's like, the later payoff wasn't a satisfying payoff. Of course, they're both good. We all like money, getting laid, eating food, drinking beer, whatever, fancy things in life. But what I realized, and I hate that this is the answer to all of this, what I realized is that the process and the execution and the planning, the process, the busyness in life, being busy, not being retired, not being poor, not being abundant, the busyness, having something to occupy yourself with, being engaged, challenging yourself, and that journey of discovery, that's the big payoff. All right, that's the satisfying payoff. To quote Alan Watts, and this is going to be a really bad quote, so I'm going to try to do my best. Avoiding negative pain is a negative pain. Pursuing a positive is a negative because you're in a negative state of mind when you're pursuing a positive. But and this is what I've discovered in life, and I'm almost kind of like a really lucky child actor. I'm almost like the kind of guy who won the lottery at the age of 21, recruited by Real Social Dynamics at the age of 21. Given the dream job, I had a pretty damn good skill set socially, and then it became very, very good. So I got a lot of results with women. I'm speaking as a guy who's both won the lottery and kind of lost the lottery in working really, really hard to build 2 new businesses. And of course, if you're building businesses, you know that you're going to go many thousands of euros into debt, lots of pain, anguish, people to work with. So I've both won the lottery and I've both lost the lottery. I've both been bankrupt and I've won the lottery. This is where I'm talking from. And, what I realized is just waking up and being busy every day. That was it. Being busy every day. And just waking up and getting those gains. As simple as that. And people in the pickup world, you're all looking for some kind of like epic adventure or epic story to tell or an epic conclusion. But there is no epic conclusion, right? To your fortune. There's no conclusion to your fortune. There should be no conclusion to your social dominance and your social influence, including the women that you get. And there should be no conclusion to the ultimate, stimulation of drugs or food or scotch or whiskey or cigars. And going through the process and feeling really, really happy with the process, when a man is busy, a man is happy. Let's elaborate on that. So what do you see online when you're on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or whatever? Everybody's selling you the dream to get rich quick or to have huge success or to retire early or, the freedom business or whatever like that. But that kind of thinking, like what you're being sold every day, these seeds that are being sown into your psyche is that there's a better life that you don't have, right? And there's going to be one big chunk of work and one big payoff, and that's going to be it. But that's not the reality. And the problem that I see as a pickup coach is that everybody hates themselves. They're dissatisfied with their moment. They're dissatisfied with their lot in life. And when a girl or a woman wants a man, she wants a guy that she can enjoy hooking up with or dating or marrying, but there you are, always dissatisfied. You're either dissatisfied with yourself because you haven't had your big payoff yet, or you become complacent, lazy, uninnovative. You become kind of like disengaged with society if you have a big windfall and you basically retire early. I've met so many guys who have made fortunes selling casinos, launching big businesses, and cracking the Facebook ad game code and making tens of thousands of dollars a week, and they become complacent and weird. They become weird and disengaged and sad because they're not well challenged on a daily basis. And in regards to meeting girls, they're just not happy with who they are, because either they're a failure in their own measuring stick, or they're a success and they become lazy and they kind of become arrogant about their wealth and whatever. And so I've been really toying with both of these ideas for the last 2 years, as I said, and I was looking for the answer, and strangely, the answer came to me. What I'm talking about here is happiness, self-worth, and confidence to transition that to a different girl, to a girl that you're meeting. My happiness came from working on building the business, not the realization of the functionality of the business and the profitability of the business. My happiness came from building a vehicle that can house media equipment so that I can do jobs anywhere in all of Europe. And I realized when I was watching documentaries about The Rock and Mark Wahlberg, these guys, they're movie stars with these incredible bodies. And you may be thinking in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s that you want to get to a point and retire by the age of 30 or 40 or 45 or whatever, and then just, put your feet up and see the world and kind of take the pressure off yourself. Well, you shouldn't have so much incredible pressure on yourself that you become down on yourself or out of state or hating the world because you're working so hard for some dream payoff. And you shouldn't then become so high afterwards that you become arrogant about your wealth that you judge everybody from an ivory tower. Looking at guys like Mark Wahlberg and The Rock, and then me working on my van all day, every day for about 2 years, on an ongoing basis for 2 years, I realized that every day that you're making the gains is a simple, happy, harmonious day, right? In life, we're all going to have our ups and our downs, our couple steps forward and our couple steps back. But I looked at these guys like The Rock and Mark Wahlberg, and these guys are in their 40s and 50s, and they still have these incredible bodies. Like the Don Draper's character in Mad Men, that guy's in his 50s and 60s, covered in gray hair, but these guys are so cool, and they're satisfied and they're harmonious, and they're examples and inspirations to all of us guys out here on the internet, because you're busy doing the process all day. You're on an ongoing basis. You're a busy guy. Maybe you made $1 million, and you're like, okay, that was cool. Now let's make $2 million. Maybe you've got a really, really great body. You want to now use that body to achieve something with it, like a triathlon or an ultra marathon, 100 miles in a day or whatever those things are. They're incredible. And I myself have found harmony and happiness in the daily gain. This is the idea, right? The daily gain. You go to the gym every day. I'm now 34. I'm not young anymore. I started this when I was 21, and I'm going to be doing this kind of stuff when I'm 55. I'm going to be like the same age as Brad Pitt or George Clooney, the guys who I watch on movies and TV. And I'm still going to be, working on my talent, working on my career, working on my body, working on my relationships, just making those little gains every day. Of course, there's going to be challenges and setbacks, but I like that. In the same way that I really liked building my van and just watching it come together slowly and surely and problem solving, I've now realized that I've liked making gains in my life, relationship, physique, hooking up with girls, building better relationships and developing the existing relationships that I have on a small gain by gain basis. This has all been a calmness and a happiness and a harmony that's yielded results in productivity and wealth and relationships that I wasn't getting that kind of wealth, productivity, relationships, and happiness when I was chasing the big payoff, or I was punishing the shit out of myself when I was chasing the payoff. And when I experienced the payoff, having a lot of money, spending big on boats and champagne and cigars and fashion, this kind of thing, it was fleeting and it wasn't harmonious. But now I found a balance, right? Now I found a balance, and as simple as this sounds, as unepic as this sounds, to burst your bubble of, to deflate your sense of drama and self-grandeur in your life's mission, and to say, hey, be calm, get your mind together, get your emotions together, find balance in your life so that you can execute every day. Isn't that what you're working towards anyway? You're clear of mind, you're calm of soul, and you're executing on the things that interest you and engage you and satisfy you. That's the game plan, right? And maybe you are retired, or maybe you're broke, you're a student, you're uneducated, you're unsuccessful, and you wake up and you're like, well, I can't change the world today, but if you go to bed at the end of the day and you've made the gains and address some challenges, that's what makes a man happy. Not even pleasure and bliss and payoff, but when a man is busy, millionaire at the top of a skyscraper in New York, or a guy digging a mine to earn money for his family in the outback of Australia, these guys are equally harmonious and satisfied. And that's what I was missing. Not the instant gratification payoff, and not work really, really hard, punish myself, feel all that angst, judge myself against others for some big payoff in the future. That's what I was missing. And it was that the process and the daily gain, that has given me a harmony that's yielded the productivity, the money, the rewards, the relationships, and a happiness that I haven't felt before.